Let me turn to you here for a moment, because obviously Romania, as Josh just mentioned, anxiously watching what's happening in Ukraine. We're now seeing more attacks in Western Ukraine, part of which, of course, borders Romania. What more can the United States be doing? What more should the United States be doing to reassure our NATO allies, especially a country like Romania?
Well, thanks for that question. Of course, those images of the many millions of refugees that are hitting Romania and Poland are quite shocking. And absolutely, we will have to do much more in the United States to help Europe absorb these huge numbers. I think we haven't even seen the tip of the iceberg here, frankly, as to the number of Ukrainians that will likely cross the border over the next several days as fighting in Ukraine intensifies. I mean, certainly Vice President Harris's trip was very important, symbolically important to reassure allies, but we have to do more than political symbolism here. We have to secure the eastern flank. This is something that we at my organization have been advocating for a very long time. What does that actually mean? Well, one, Romania is such a key NATO ally for not only because it borders Ukraine, but also because it provides access to the Black Sea. It is a key strategic partner when it comes to Black Sea security in particular. And of course, now we're seeing how Russian domination, military domination of the Black Sea, its militarization of Crimea has provided a very powerful angle of attack into Ukraine from the south. And, you know, for a very long time, Romania has been also advocating for establishing a NATO intelligence hub to be the front line kind of signal radar of attacks that might be happening. I think now we have to do much more than that. We really have to invest in having
President
US
Zelensky,
presence
as
in
you know,
Romania.
Alina, continues to urge for this no-fly zone to be established over Ukraine. I want to play something that former U.S. Ambassador Russia Michael McFaul said earlier on Morning Joe.
I do not support a no-fly zone, and I want us to stop using that phrase. I want you to start using the phrase declaration of war. And then you ask people, do you support a declaration of war against Russia? Because if an American pilot shoots down a Russian pilot, that's a declaration of war.
Alina, any scenario where the United States or its allies take that step?
Well, it's certainly very, very unlikely now because we don't want a direct confrontation between NATO and Russia. I think for very, very obvious reasons, it would be a declaration of war, as Ambassador McFaul just pointed out. But we have to do more to help set up humanitarian corridors. There's been an idea proposed to have limited humanitarian-focused security corridors just to allow civilians to get out from these heavily bombarded areas, and where the allies would help Ukraine provide more weapons, missile systems to Ukraine to be able to secure those corridors. So again, this is not a no-fly zone, but it is sort of a limited security assistance to enable Ukraine to be able to get those two civilians out, which Russia, of course, has been bombarding some of those corridors and evacuation sites.